How's it going, guys? Today is Tuesday, March 2nd, beginning of the trading month. This is the very first week of the trading month. We're going to get into some members' charts, some of the things that they want to see, and I have a few items for you guys. Some of the names that we've been following for quite a while, some of them made moves today, so we'll also get into that. This is Patrick, and you're trading with Prime. First little bit of information for you guys. I just want to say, for those of you who are members at Ride the Bull, we appreciate you guys, each and every one of you. One thing I want to say is that Ride the Bull will never solicit you for any kind of money or financial information or anything like that one-on-one. If you have any questions, you can email Ride the Bull at the website, or through PayPal. You can also send us an email. That's all I wanted to say about that. So be very careful who you guys are talking to. There are people that might look like they are people from Ride the Bull, or people you may know. That's because you can change your name in Discord, just the way it works. Anyway, I'm off of that. Just wanted to put that out there. First thing we're going to look at is we're going to look at SOS. Work with me here. Hopefully you guys are having a good trading week. Hopefully we can go over some of these charts and kind of give you a picture of what we've kind of see here. We're going to look at SOS. This is the daily chart. What we're looking at is we found support at the low of this candle. Whenever you see a candle like this, that's a pretty hefty candle. Not only that, it's a prior resistant area that it broke through that area, so we call that a breakout. And this is the back test. Now, something to kind of be mindful of is that it was sitting at 1588, and so that's probably around 70, let's see here, 72%. So that's something kind of look out for. That's quite the move back down to the downside, and so it would be very, to imagine for a minute what all the traders in this period that bought the market or bought SOS at this time period. It's a very scary thing to do, is step in and be a buyer, because you could have been a buyer at the low of this candle as well. You could have been a buyer at the gap. You could have been a buyer at the gap fill. There's several areas in here that you could try to pick the bottom. And so sometimes it's better to just wait for the actual bounce itself, maybe a reversal candle on the lower time frames. Where are we at right now? Well, we're coming into some resistance right now up here around 860. This was the gap that we were talking about. That's the resistance area. And so it needs a little bit of time. This is either a dead cat bounce for lower prices. And what would tell us that is if price ended up, for any reason, ended up back down here around $4.80, $4.90, somewhere down in this area. If price is back down here within the next couple days, this is probably a dead cat bounce. But for now, price could also just bounce on this area. You could draw some support lines in here. Price can do this. Just keep in mind, the more times price bounces on that area, the more likely the area is not going to hold. And if I go down to a lower time frame, I'll try to keep this video short for you guys without also talking too fast. So lower time frame, what do we see here? Now this looks a little bit better on the lower time frame. You could either draw, well, it'd be hard to draw a trend line in here. I wouldn't really draw one in just yet. But what we do see is we see a reversal down here. We see a bull flag, and then we see it play out, and then here is that resistance area. If you're not long in the trade, I would probably wait for a breakout above this area, and I'm going to give you a price of, call it $8.60, or maybe above this high right here around $8.40. I would wait for higher prices. It would give you a better probability, higher probability trade setup versus trying to buy the dip. But you can buy the dip, and if you do, just know where your price levels are at. If you're in this trade right now, maybe you could just keep setting your stop loss at these pivots, one right here, and one at today's low. If you wanted to give it the room that it needs, maybe set a stop loss up here around 572 and just kind of let it play out. That's it for SOS. Let's go to the next one. APHA, which is APHA. APHA. Okay. Let's go to the daily chart. I like this pattern. It's definitely bullish as far as you saw this initial run up, and then now it's just consolidating. So we kind of want to just let it consolidate. I don't know if I would step in and be a buyer just yet. You could buy at support down here around $16. There's also some support down here around 1439. But keep in mind there is a reversal candle on the daily chart, which is today's high. So there's two ways of looking at this. One is this can just be another candle. It's above all the moving averages. This market or this APHA is in an uptrend. We could also follow MJ, which is the marijuana sector, and take a look at that and see how MJ is doing and what that chart looks like. There's definitely going to be some resistance up here. I'm going to give you those two areas. There's one here, one here. And like we were saying, there might be some support down here around these pivots. Resistance area, I would say it's around $22.49. Up here around $24.32. If for any reason you see price get above today's high, there could be minor resistance in this area. Once it gets above here, I would definitely expect resistance at this upper portion. As far as you might see price run into a stall here at that price. So keep both of those or all of those levels on your chart. MCD. I like McDonald's. We have to be very careful with McDonald's as far as rotation, because sometimes you'll see rotation in and out of these kind of names. As far as long term, I love the company. No reason to sell it. This could be weekly consolidation in here. As far as a topping pattern, I don't know necessarily if this, I wouldn't call this a topping pattern just yet. I'd want to see it break support of 204. It hasn't done that yet. One thing we have to just take note of is that it does look like it's kind of bouncing on support, and we have to be careful with that, because the more time price bounces on support, the more likely it is to fall through. As far as risk versus reward setup, I would want to wait for price to get back above $2 or $2. I'd want to wait for price to get back above $211.25. Let's call it $211.50. Let's say that. I want to see it get back above these moving averages. You're going to have some resistance back above the top end of the range, which is around 216. And again, this is support until it fails. And if it does fail, you'll have support down here around 198. That's quite the range. 198.33. And then down here, probably around 193.52. Okay, let's look at Costco. Costco, again, I like these names. The thing with Costco is that we do see kind of a sell-off this last week and a half. And just like the last chart that we saw, when you see how it's bouncing on support, right? We just talked about that, where it bounces, and then it falls through. That's where we have to be very careful, because on a higher time frame, it might look like, let's go to the weekly time frame. It might look like bullish consolidation. In fact, I would say that this price action is bullish consolidation until it failed, right? And so it failed. We're out of the trade. We're just waiting. We're waiting for the bottom. And where would I want to pick this up if I am going to be long in this name? I'm not so sure the support down here around 324.03. Well, let's say 325.23. There might be a little bit of support in there. I'm not sure that it will hold. It's possible, but if I would more be eyeing this price down here just underneath that, and I'll give you an actual price of this, which is around $318.92. It doesn't have to be to the penny, but you do have a little bit of consolidation in this area. Plus, it broke out of this area. So it would be possible that we would see price come down here, do a little back test on the lower one, and then rally away from that area. But I would want to be looking at lower time frames to kind of wait and watch for that reversal. Right now, I would not be a buyer in this just yet. I would kind of hold off. CLOV. And by the way, this is not financial advice, so that's, the whole disclaimer. This is not that. You guys have to do your own due diligence. This is just kind of what I see. CLOV, I got to be very careful. CLOV looks like another chart that we're going to go take a look at. And if I go to a higher time frame on CLOV, weekly chart closed below support, and I'm going to highlight that support right in here. On Friday, it closed below that support, telling you that there's probably going to be lower prices. And we know that price doesn't go in a straight line, so you do see retracements all the time. And so what would I be looking for if I was going to be a buyer in CLOV? I would go back to the daily chart and I'd wait for a daily reversal candle. And let's see if we can see one on this chart. Do we see a daily reversal candle? Well, I do see a daily reversal candle, but it's up here. Right here, I wouldn't really count this one. We're looking for a hammer candle or an indecision candle, or like here's a daily reversal candle. It's kind of small, but it technically is one, and it's at support. And so that's what we're looking for. We're looking for some sort of doji, or maybe like this, or maybe you'll see a hammer kind of candle with heavy volume. That's what I would kind of be looking for. But if you wanted to go down to a lower time frame. You could also try to take this out of a pattern. So if I pulled the chart like this and I put up some sort of trend line in here and said, you know what, I'm going to wait for, and I don't know how you would draw it. This is kind of a whippy pattern, but I would want to see price get back above certain prices, and that hasn't happened yet. Right now, it's bearish consolidation into the close. Anything is possible, though. I don't really notice the capitulation type volume. And if there is capitulation type volume, if it really starts to pick up here, that would be a good indication that we are possibly coming into a bottom. And the one thing I do like is I like how there's an uptick in volume as prices coming lower. Uptick in volume means that we're getting closer to capitulation. I love that word. I'll say it all day long. Okay, that's it for CLOV. Just be very cautious. I definitely would wait for the reversal candle, but just know your levels if you are in the trade where you would be stopped out of the trade. Facebook. I like Facebook, and I like all these charts you guys are sending me. The only thing I don't like is this weekly pattern. What you see lately is you see this huge range in here. Is this a topping pattern? Is this a consolidation pattern for higher prices? It looks like it on the weekly time frame. If I did this, up move, consolidation, usually resulting in an up move. However, it's pretty whippy for me, right? Me personally. Now, if I go back to the daily time frame and I say, you know what, we could draw a trend line in here, but this is where we, again, like I've said before, we have to be careful with trend lines because as you notice, I have trend lines already on the screen. And so if you were to take a short trade out of this, it immediately found support and rallied back up here. Technically, it back tested. But people who went short after we waited for the breakdown might have been stopped out of the trade before it came back up and back tested, which is also why it's a good idea to wait for the back test and then the resumption down here, which would be this area right here. But currently, what do I see? You could draw some support in here and say, you know what, I'm going to be a buyer at support. I would say at this point, it's probably, I don't want to say it's probably probable, but it looks like that might be what is going on here. It might want to come back down to support one more time, you know, but it might not. It could have already done the support thing, and you do see in here, and now that I zoom in, let's go to lower time frame actually, because I kind of see something on the daily chart. Let's zoom in and see if we can see the same thing on the hourly chart. So you see this, it does have a little bit of move right here where you see price, it does find support, it rallies away from that area. The only thing, and it does come back down, it looks like it's a back test. So if you see price down here again, just be very careful, right? But it could just be a higher low from this low and from this low. So if you're not in this trade, I would wait for a price above 266.15 to get into the trade. And if you are in the trade, I would just know where your stop loss is, maybe around 257.14. UWMC. What's going on here? UWMC. And remember earlier I said I would show you a chart, or the chart we were looking at reminds me of another chart. I think it was CLOV. And it reminds me of UWMC, and I'll show you why. Because this is the same kind of action that we're seeing in CLOV, where we see this massive sell-off. It's been selling off for quite a while now. Something I thought was a little bit interesting that I want you guys to see is see how price came down to support and it closed almost right on support, and then it rallied all the way up to $12 and then sold off. Well, this is a good indication right here, just on this candle right here, that there's going to be lower prices. But something else I want you guys to see, and I'm going to go to the monthly time frame, and I don't know why I didn't see this before. Oh, that hurts my eyes. I don't know why I didn't see this before, and I wish I did. It's just one of those things that, you know what, I was wrong. What you see here is you see price consolidation, and then it finally breaks out and it goes all the way up to $14.38. What you don't want to see is you don't want to see price, and this is where technical analysis is a crazy thing, because you want price to stay above. I'm going to do this and hopefully you can see it. See this green candle right here? The low of that candle is $9.91, I believe. Let's see here. No, it's not. I lied. The low of that candle is $10.04. Okay, the close on the following candle is $9.91, which means we closed the month of January below the low of the month of December. And the reason why that's a telling sign is because that was a breakout area. This was the breakout area. When you see a back test of breakout, you want to see it hit the back test. It can even trade below it a little bit, but you want to see it trade away. And the thing is that the month close by itself tells us that it's higher probability that the following month, which was whatever the following month, February, was going to see lower prices, and that it did. It saw lower prices. Now let's go back into a higher time frame. Let's say the daily chart. Where do I see this going? First of all, I think that it's probable that this come in and does a back test of 991, and I think it can come to a back test of the 991 area. Let's go back to the monthly again. I think it can come to a back test of that, 991, maybe even a back test of 1008. And then let's go back down to the weekly and see where it's possible. $10. I think $10 is a good area, right? That's a nice little bounce. Something I would be mindful of is this is quite the hefty downtrend, and I was actually stopped out of this trade, and so I did not take part in this rally. I wish I did, but I was stopped out of this trade, and so that's just the way it works sometimes. It's in quite the hefty downtrend, and that's something that we also have to be mindful of, is that you have a high, you have a lower high. Is this going to create another lower high? I think there will be a little bit of resistance up here around these moving averages around 1015 also. And then if we can get above 1015, we have a closer to a clear shot up here to get back up here to 1162. Let's go to the daily. Okay, those are the price levels. Those are the resistance areas. Where would I be a buyer again in this? I would wait for it to break through resistance around 950. Or I would wait for a pullback to get back down to 806 or even $8.41. Would both be viable areas in my opinion. Let's go to the last chart, RKT, the moment we've all been waiting for. Okay, what an absolute beast. Are you kidding me? 71%. We've been talking about RKT the last, I don't know, month and a half, 2 months. I don't know how long it's been. We've been in and out, trading in and out of these trades. The last trade that we took in this was I believe it was this breakout back here. RKT is amazing. I think it's undervalued. I think that you can definitely hold on to this. I don't think that this is something that, yes, this is quite the move, and we can all expect that there's going to be a pullback in here, and it's going to be a pretty hefty pullback. But we can, if it were me, I don't know. I feel like this is a company that you can hold on to for long term. So I don't know if it's up to you if you want to hold it as just a trade or if you want to hold it for long term. It's up to you. And of course, that would be relevant depending on, relative if you had options versus shares. It's something to also look out for. But on a lower time frame, this is a beast. And if you are just a trader and you just want to trade this, you could just keep raising your stop loss up to these areas. These are all three of these areas I think will act as support. There's $26.98. Let's call it $27, $29, and let's say somewhere around here around $35.50. Those are all three good areas for stop loss, meaning if price traded below those areas, they'll probably head down to the next lower pivot. So keep all of those. Well done if you were in this trade. Feel free to like the video if you've gained value out of this video. If you're new here and you want to check us out, the website is in the description of the video, and the link of the Discord is also in the description of the video. We will see you guys in the next one.